I'm Midnight Agent Raw.
And I'm Okame.
We are the Super Media Bros podcast, and we are founding members of the OddPods Media network.
Hi, I'm Sam.
I'm Richie.
And I'm Little Matt.
And here at the 500 Section Lounge, we have a few requirements.
First, you've got to be able to talk about anything at all.
Secondly, you need to be able to laugh, play games, and talk to some very interesting people.
From sports radio personalities to reality television contest finalists and everything in between, we talk to them all.
Yeah, it's all right here in the lounge.
So be on the lookout for what we do next.
And always be there to
grab a listen.
Super Media Bros.
Welcome to the Super Media Bros podcast. I'm Midnight Agent Raw.
And I'm Okame.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. If you're children, you probably shouldn't be listening to this, but that's neither here nor there.
So the children now put Night Riders of all ages.
There you go. Today we have a very special episode, one that's, I guess on our end, kind of been like a long time trying to get, the ball rolling on. But today we are very pleased, pleasured, and honored to sit down with one of our favorite musicians, Pylot. What's going on, dude?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, that Louisiana heat feels like we're in a giant sauna right now.
When it's not fucking pouring down rain.
Well, I mean, as a Brit, I can completely relate. I swear, like 10 months of the year, it's fucking just pissing it down with rain constantly, so I can definitely relate, man. When the sun comes out, I'm just not used to it at all.
That sounds like us here recently, because like the last 3 weeks has been nothing but rain and flooding, and we're looking outside right now and it's sunny and we're just so confused. Like, where's the rain coming?
Yeah, the thing is, in this country as well, like we don't have AC built into our homes or nothing. So like when it gets hot, it gets hot.
I've always wondered why that is too, because I've noticed that like we'll watch Jacksepticeye on YouTube, and he's from Ireland, and then he moved over to the United Kingdom, and he was like, we have no air conditioning over here, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why not?
Because the weather's always shit. Like, it's always terrible. Like honestly, like this last week, the weather's been really lovely. It's been nice, but it's so unlike the UK in general to have more than say 4 or 5 weeks of good weather in an entire year. Like, that's no exaggeration either. Like, we're just used to looking out the window and just seeing grey and wet everywhere. So it's really strange when you actually get to see that big orange thing in the sky known as the sun. It's strange.
It seems depressing, honestly.
Well, it is. It is. There's a reason most of us keep the curtains closed all the fucking time. It's because you'd rather just look at the inside of a curtain than out the window at the shit outside.
It's like the long nights of Alaska kind of feeling. Just constantly dark for a long period of time.
Yes, it reminds me of that movie Insomnia.
Yeah.
That whole thing. Oh my God, that was nuts. But yeah, dude, so before you did Pylot, like most everybody that's listening to us, they've probably heard our review of your Shadow Task EP or your Salai EP. And, we've talked about your music releases here and there. You just released a new one not too long ago, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But maybe a lot of people don't know that you did a couple of projects before you did the Pylot project, and both of them being Run, Funk, and Televisor. And Cody and I are both huge fans of those projects as well.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
I remember the very first days of Monstercat when I was listening to them back in, I think it's like 2014, I think it was. And I heard Televisor pop up on the list, and I've never heard of new disco in my entire life up until that point. I was like, man, this shit is phenomenal. Like, I am energetic. I'm full of hype and everything. Listen to this stuff. And I was a fan like instantly after that point of you guys. And it was just interesting. Like, as I introduced Richie to music, I made a joke about this like an episode ago, how he's the one that's constantly like, hey, have you heard of these 300 songs real quick? And I'm like, I've heard of one of those. And then it's like rare whenever I come up with something, it's like, hey, here's Televisor. And he's like, oh, dude, that sounds awesome.
It was really cool just because we like that style of music regardless. But I think at the time, at least for me at the time, I hadn't heard a lot of stuff like it, and it just felt very energetic, very fun. How was the vibe writing for that project?
Oh man, it was really, really fun. I mean, that's kind of like the run funk stuff. I mean, that was me kind of at the start of my career, like dabbling in stuff and kind of getting used to actually the process of producing, trying to develop my skills. Televisor was kind of like the natural evolution of that. So like if you listen to, say, my run funk stuff, it's quite, I would say, like Dead Mousey in terms of production maybe. And it's because I used to listen to a lot of Dead Mouse back then. And then when I started getting into like French electro and French house, I started listening to like Daft Punk and, you know, all the classic acts that like you would just name drop if you could think of that genre. And I started listening to a load of old disco records and stuff. And then that's when I decided to kind of pursue that. I found Tom, the other dude in Televisor. And writing the music was just, what was great was that in the kind of dance music scene, you know, especially with the Monstercat label, it's like we were bringing something, like we had the first new disco release on the label, and we basically just opened up a new market for them in terms of that genre. And what was nice is that we honestly felt like we had full creative control because we were, although that genre had been, and derivatives of that genre had been written, you know, time and time before, we felt like we were just trying to bridge the gap more between electronic music and like the older kind of disco styles. So musically kind of bleeding in those influences from like classic disco music and having like guitar solos, having like a Rhodes in there, having a live bass or whatever. It was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun.
Because that was the very interesting part about you and Tom's introduction into Monstercat was y'all brought that genre, like you said, like to a light and gave, you know, D&B and dubstep and electro a run for their money in a sense, because there's a whole new genre of music that hardly anybody in electronic music really pays attention to. Like, I know it's not new to them. It's more of just like, yeah, we've heard about it, but it just doesn't seem as interesting, I guess you can say. But y'all were like the flagship for that genre for like the longest time.
For sure. And I think I would say certainly within the community of like the audience, the Monstercat audience was kind of growing steadily at that point. I feel like at least to them, it was a completely new sound, something they hadn't heard before. But I personally wouldn't say that it's a sound that like we coined and made our own. Because like you could listen to songs like Stardust, Music Sounds Better With You, or Fat and Small, or, you know, loads of these iconic kind of French house tracks that were like really big in the charts when I was growing up. And so funk and disco has had its place in electronic dance music, but I feel like bringing it to a fresh-faced young audience, like, you know, the kind of audience that Monstercat had, allowed us to experiment with the genre and I guess push it a bit more.
I liked seeing the different, like, I think that's what Monstercat was like, they had going for them. It was more appealing because back in the 90s, especially here in America, we had, you know, whatever was trending at the time. If it was Euro disco and it was over here in like 1998, 1999, that's what was trending. When Daft Punk came on the scene and they put Homework out, like you had the French house kind of feel, and then you had like Chicago house kind of mixed in with it. So that was trending. And then when Discovery hit, that's when I think that particular style of French house kind of took on a life of its own. And then everybody, you know, for lack of a better term, I think everybody, even in America, was trying to go that route. If they were playing any electronic music of any sort, hell, even Eiffel 65 for their second release went more of the French house way. And I think just it shows like the amount of influence and the amount of popularity that genre has, even though it may not be like at the forefront all the time. You know, being able to put that on Monstercat with, you know, people that are doing trance or dubstep, like Cody was saying earlier, like all these different styles of music that are kind of, you know, prevalent. You know, you hear like, you know, the style you guys were, you know, doing. It stood apart.
Yeah, I think the fact that we released on Monstercat was mainly down to my naivety because I mean, I was still in university. I was doing like a music production degree or whatever. And this was like at the start of my career where like the height of my success was getting like 100 plays on SoundCloud and 10 comments. And I was like, I've fucking made it. And I remember I was coming towards the end of my degree, and Televisor had written an EP, and it was released on a label called Stardust Records. Yeah, and I mean, for the record, they're a fucking terrible label to work with, and I advise no one to make the mistake we made and work with them. Yeah,
Saucy.
awful. Yeah, I've just got to put it out there, man. They were fucking terrible. But anyway, we released our first EP with them, and then I was just kind of looking I was just doing the most basic research. Like I was looking for labels that were based in America or Canada, and I would just literally Google independent label, whatever. And I came across Monstercat socials, and if this is any metric to go by, at the time, I think they had like 50,000 likes on Facebook or something. And their YouTube audience is maybe like 500,000 subs or something. And I mean, that's a massive audience still. But I mean, in comparison to now, I mean, they've just absolutely skyrocketed, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely.
But I think we were lucky in the sense that I just sent them a demo without really doing any research as to like the stuff they were already releasing. I just knew it was dance music, and I thought, well, actually, I did listen to a couple of releases. I can't remember what they are now, but I just remember them being very different to what we submitted, and I was just really naive about it. And I think they kind of liked that. They were like, "Yo, yeah, we don't usually have this kind of stuff, but let's give it a try." Whatever. Yeah, that's how it started.
Yeah, and you got to kind of commend the label for that, because they were willing to take a chance, and I think it paid off. I think just in our opinion, it paid off.
It definitely, I've got to be honest, like I have to attribute my, the kind of birth of my actual career to the label. Obviously we had to put the work in, and I had to send a demo off, whatever, but ultimately they, like you say, they took a chance on us, and people seem to really like the music, which is great.
How did the Pylot project come about? Because your time with Televisor, I want to say kind of overlapped into the beginnings of the Pylot stuff. Am I correct? Because you started the Pylot project in 2015, and you didn't officially leave Televisor until 2017?
Sorry, what was the question again?
Oh, it's okay. I was saying when you started the Pylot project, you had officially left Televisor in 2017, right? So like your Pylot stuff kind of overlapped into the end of Televisor.
Yeah. You're asking me why, like when a decision was made to leave and why?
Yeah, I guess a little bit. I was just saying that like once you started, because I guess it's kind of a double question. It's like, when did you know you were going to or wanted to start Pylot? And, if you knew like what you wanted the project to be or become, and then when did you realize maybe it was time to step away from Televisor and do this full time?
Right, sorry, I had a super, super bad brain fart then, my apologies.
Oh, no, it's cool. I did too. It's fucking Sunday, and I'm sitting here like, well, work week starts tomorrow, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Grown up shit.
So I think like, to be honest, it's not that long ago, but so much has happened. It's kind of hard for me to remember exactly what sparked me to start the project. I believe I'd been writing new disco for so long, and that was basically my entire career from like university. We're talking like 2010 until 2009 till 2012. And then I was just working on new disco pretty much solidly then, say up until like 2015. And I was kind of discovering new music and listening to new artists, and I believe I came across, I want to say Kavinsky, maybe. I'd never heard his music before, whatever. And I heard Nightcall, and I was like, oh, that's really fucking good. Let me listen to more music. And I found a bunch more artists who I can't remember now, but I just went through this massive binge of listening to a load of music from this kind of like genre and different subgenres of that and stuff. And at the end of it, I was really inspired, and I was like, why don't I just start something on my own on the side, and like just as a little fun exploration into like writing other styles? Because I feel like it's really important if you're a creative person. Like if it's your, at the time it was my job, as it is now, if your job is to create one particular thing, I feel like it's so important like to exercise those muscles in your brain and create something that you typically don't. Whether that's writing songs in a different key or using different instruments or writing different genres or whatever. And I just really enjoyed it, man. It was really fun. And I think once I was doing that for a couple of years, me and Tom, because he lived in Amsterdam and I lived in the UK, we kind of just started growing apart in terms of our creative tastes and like where we felt the music should go, what direction should go in. And we had management at the time, and so it was like this triangle of just all of us butting heads and not knowing what to do, where to take the music. I released the Shadow Task. I believe I released the Shadow Task EP first. and then I decided to leave. I can't remember. I remember it was around. Oh no, I can't remember for the life of me. But I remember it was like on my birthday, and I was like, it's like, it's time to leave. It's time for me to just kind of pursue this, and because I couldn't put enough time and effort into it. I had management, and they were putting pressure on me to do stuff and that. So I was like, right, I'm going to leave, and I'm just going to give it a go, see what happens.
So, kind of jumping on to the Pylot project, I know a lot of artists that pursue that genre or pursue any genre of music. Actually, they get inspiration from other artists, like you said, Kavinsky and everybody else that you listen to. So they make their own style with that type of music. But what you did, which I heavily appreciate, is you created a narrative. You actually gave a story behind the music. Was that initially what you were thinking about doing with Pylot, or were you just going to be like, well, I like this kind of music, I'm just going to put my own little spin on the genre?
Yeah, I always wanted to do it with the project. And I think it's because, again, like, it's a cliche, but like Kavinsky was a big influence because like I would watch, his brand. I've always been the sort of person that really, really thinks highly of like a good brand and branding and like having a solid identity and not confusing your audience as to what your goal is or what type of content it is you make. And I always thought he just felt really strong, Justice are another great example, Daft Punk. There's loads of bands out there that have a really solid brand, and you kind of, you know what to expect with them. And with Kavinsky, obviously he has this alias. It's like a character, this like zombie character from the 1980s with a Testarossa, and he's got this kind of narrative that runs through his music and through his music videos. Although it's not, I guess, as linear, they're more just kind of situations that the character finds himself in that may or may not be related to previous events or whatever. And I just really love that because as a producer, I think I focus so much on creating the music and stuff that sometimes you can't enjoy it for what it is. But I found with Kavinsky's music, although I love the production and the musicality of it, the whole world that he'd created and this kind of vibe and style, I just got really immersed in it, and I found myself enjoying the music for what it was and not overanalyze it and picking apart the mix and picking apart the production and everything else. And I just thought, like, I want to do the same. I just want to create something that people can immerse themselves in, some kind of fictional thing, and just treat the music as a soundtrack to this narrative.
Yeah, because the music definitely comes off like more scoring than anything also. And being a giant movie buff, like that's one of the first things that I think both of us probably noticed with it is that it was very thematic. It definitely rocks, and it definitely, has an energy to it. And then there's some tracks you do where it's more of like a score, more so than like there's drums, there's more focus on the thematic elements than anything.
Yeah. I think my track, The Place I Want to Know, is like, I remember, releasing a track like that on Monstercat is a pretty big gamble anyway, because everyone's like, where's the fucking drop? Where's the drop?
Yeah.
Where's the lamb sauce?
Where's the lamb sauce? You donkey.
What are you, an idiot sandwich? Shit.
Gordon Ramsay's fucking brilliant. He's brilliant.
Dude, yeah, absolutely.
He's funny as hell.
I think instead of calling them drops in music, they just need to be called lamb sauce now.
Yep.
Yeah. Agreed. I'd much rather call them lamb sauce and drops. Like, I feel like the term drop, whoever coined that term, like, it's relevant, I think, to certain genres, but to me, like, the main section of the song, the hookiest part of the song, the bit of the song that the part of the song you take away with you after it's finished playing that you sing over in your head. To me, that's the chorus. Or the hook or whatever. Right. I fucking hate the term drop, and I think it's just because I'm picky. But anyway, I saw a load of comments, and these people were like, "Oh, this song's only got orchestral drums. Where's the fucking drop or whatever?" And I just thought, like, my God,
it's like that's all you focus on.
Yeah, I was so glad that like Monstercat put it out anyway, because a lot of people really liked it, but I was kind of expecting that response, to be honest, because it is like an electronic dance music label, and there's me putting out this kind of orchestral string kind of ambient slow tempo track or whatever. But yeah, man, kudos to Monstercat for putting it out there anyway.
Right on. Yeah, and that song in particular was really cool because we're both big fan of vocoding and shit like that on vocals, and just great use of it. You know, that's what I was going to mention earlier. Both of us going to mention earlier, like all the thematic elements. It's very well done. Like
Thank you.
You're welcome, dude. Like as your music has progressed track by track, we've seen like the evolution of it happening. And then, you know, like the vocoding was really cool. And then like once you got into the Shadow Task EP, it was just like this whole other door getting kicked wide the fuck open. Because when we first listened to that shit, it was like, oh my God, this is a new, like it's Pylot, but there's like some kind of like new energy behind it. Was there some kind of, I'm not saying like difference between, you know, the previous tracks in the Shadow Task EP, but was there like a conscious effort to like, okay, we got to take this a little bit to the next level, especially with the opening track, Kane, because you know, we've joked about it. We've joked about it a lot, where that's like the ultimate like 80s montage music.
Yeah. I think so. Around the time I left Televisor was when I think I was halfway through writing the EP. Thinking about it, I was about halfway through writing the EP, maybe I'd finished it. Either way, I was trying to either sort the artwork out, or I was halfway through writing the actual EP itself. But somewhere in that period, I kind of thought to myself, well, I'm going to leave Televisor, or I've already left. But either way, I was like, right, I need to make a really good go at this. And initially, the Pylot project was never meant to have this in-depth like narrative with all this character development and stuff. It was always just meant to be ambiguous, simple, a very simple narrative. Like if you look at the After Dark, journal entry, it's like maybe 8 sentences. That's it. Flashbacks are slightly longer, and then you can see as I go along, it just gets longer and longer and longer. And Shadow Task for me was me saying, right, do you know what? Let's introduce characters. Let's show people characters. It was more of a kind of a branding thing for me, like I want to solidify my identity and push the idea of a narrative, because even now, like, I think half of my audience have no idea that there's a story. And it always surprises people when I bring it up, like in streams or whatever. And I felt like it was just important to me to kind of ramp up my sound and kind of try and solidify these characters through essentially giving them their own theme. That's why each song is named after a different character. And I feel like, or at least I've tried to encapsulate, emotionally through the music, how I feel those characters personally.
Yeah, that's definitely something we've noticed. Because I mean, on our review of that album, like that's kind of what we were going through with each one, is like you can feel how each song for each character, it's a different personality. You can feel that personality, and you can kind of like, without even reading the journal entries, if you're just told, hey, this is Clova or this is Data, you can tell who they are just listening to the music. It's very nuanced and very well done.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
That's, much appreciated. I think what's cool is like having like musical themes for characters and then bringing them back, like little motifs. So for example, in my last EP is a song called Faded Light, and the narrative behind that song is based on the character called Locke, and it's about his past, and like he had like a very sad family past or whatever. But the motif, like the that riff that's in Locke on the Shadow Task EP comes back in that song, but it's played slower and stuff. So it's to kind of symbolize the character.
Yeah, and that was the thing that me and him picked up on, was like when we kept listening to that song, it's like, hold on a second, that sounds awfully familiar. And it's like, oh wait, this is Locke. This is Locke. Like, slow down.
Yeah, because Locke is my favorite track on Shadow Task, and it's funny because like Kane is Cody's favorite track on that one.
Oh yes.
And then like we have kind of a similar like we'll get into it in a little bit. We have a similar kind of thing on Salai. So like when we noticed that theme kind of coming back around, because Locke, the song on Shadow Task, is really like aggressive and dark and brooding. And then when you get to, this one on Salai, it's real lighthearted and real sympathetic and very, like you said, it's very much like a sad portion of this character's
It's like a troubled past, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, it's just important for me, I think, just to drill home, like, to my audience that I'm more trying to sell a story and to sell like a narrative and to kind of pull people into this world rather than just making bangers with drops that are radio friendly. Like, I don't give a shit about that. I really don't care. I don't care. But it's cool that you guys noticed. Like, a lot of people did pick up on that, to be fair. And someone sent me a vocalist called, I don't want to get his name wrong now, Ezra Height. He basically just like bought the track, whatever, and just wrote some lyrics and sung over it. And it's fucking brilliant. It's so good. And I want to try and find a way to release that version with vocals, because he wrote lyrics that relate to the story. And he's just done it. So it's like a Deadmau5 and the Velt situation. You know, that vocalist sent him some like vocals on Twitter when he was live streaming, and Deadmau5 was like, right, well, I'm going to have a listen and critique it, and let's see, it's probably going to sound like shit. And then Deadmau5 listens to the vocals and he's like, holy fuck, like, let's do it. Let's put this on the song. Let's make it happen. It was one of those moments where I just heard it and I was like, this is incredible. Like, this is so good. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to get in touch with Fixed, I think, and see if we can do something with that, because his performance is really, really great.
That sounds like it'd be freaking awesome, dude. Because like we were going to talk about that too, is like how most of the songs, you know, for those of you that are listening that haven't heard a lot of Pylot's music, a lot of it's instrumental, but then, you know, there are some with lyrics in it. Now, like between Shadow Task and Salai, you did 3 tracks, which were Duel, Welcome, and Cruising. And Duel is absolutely literally boss battle music out of a fucking like side scroll beat 'em up arcade game. Like I swear, dude, it's so like it gets you pumped up. Like for at least for me, I hear that I'm just like, yeah, I want to like put on like Final Fight or like Streets of Rage or something to just go play the video games, like beat the shit out of people with it. Yeah, dude. And like that's because we were kind of joking about like how it would be cool if these characters and your story. I think you brought that up, Cody. Was like we do like a video game, something like that, where you could have each character be like a selected piece. And
yeah, I mean, at least have like Kane, have like Locke and Pylot be playable, and you can choose between the 3. And then like Data would be the informant, Clova would heal you or, you know, take care of you, whatnot. But then you'd have like a street brawler level and have one of those 3 characters to play as. I mean, especially with Locke. I mean, he has a fucking baseball bat. He can take out anybody. But that would be pretty cool if you can take that world and make it more fleshed out into like either a video game or something like that. Even like an animated series or something.
Oh, man. Well, I would fucking love to do that. And I've been working on, and this, I don't think this is new news, but I've been working on a script for like 5 years that I want to pitch to networks and stuff and just try and make something. How cool would it be to realize this into like a show or an animated series and just have music written by me in it? Like, I would love that. That's definitely like a goal of mine. But I'm not a great writer, and I'm well aware of that.
I don't see that. Like, I was gonna say, I think you're a great writer, honestly, dude.
I mean, yeah, because you dragged me into the journal entries like immediately as soon as you release the song. Cool. And it's like I can definitely like relive every word that you write into the song as I listen to it and feel that emotion, that, you know, the aggression or the sadness or the angst or whatever. So like you have a way with words outside of your music, dude. Like, don't ever say you don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's in my nature to be hard on myself, but yeah, I have been working on a script, and it's kind of been taking a back seat for the last couple of years as well, I'll be honest. But I'm always working on stuff, and I'm always trying to think of the next thing and stuff like that. So
it would translate really well, honestly. There's enough material there, and hell, with even, because I was thinking about that too, like even with just one journal entry, you could easily get like 1 or 2, like, you know, I would, you know, just say episodes. You could easily get like 1 or 2 out of each entry.
Right.
And especially like with Salai and Shadow Task, you could get like a whole season out of both of those things. So like moving into Salai though, because I was going to touch bases on some of the lyrical content, and again, the song choices, like, because, you know, we mentioned in Shadow Task, you know, the 2 favorite songs of Cody and I, Lost was my favorite on that album. And I know yours was
Alice.
Yeah, Alice.
Oh yeah, because Alice, like, I think I remember when I first came out, Alice reminded me if Clova and Kane had a child and just had this great intensity behind like softness to it, I guess you can say. And it was just a beautiful amalgamation.
Yeah. I think Alice is probably my favorite. It's probably the only track I like off that EP. Maybe Faded Light. I like that as well. But I've got a weird relationship with that EP. It's a strange one because I was in this weird point in my career where, and I'm not ashamed to say this, like I'd kind of fallen out of love with making music a bit. I wrote a soundtrack for this film called Escape from North Korea.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. We actually covered that on our Cult Cinema Showdown series. Yeah, we really liked it. Because like I remember we first heard about you doing the music for it. I was like, I told Cody, I said, holy shit, dude, Pylot's doing some music for this movie. And he was like, like, for real? I was like, yeah, dude. I said, when this fucking movie comes out, we have to do a showdown between it and Kung Fury, because this, like, there's no other two films like these. So
yeah, man. I think after I wrote, I had so much fun doing that, and when I did that, it was a really intense project, and I had like 3 months to write like 8 songs or something, which, I mean, you guys are familiar with how often I release music. It's taken me 8 months to release one song. So to write 8 in the space of 3 months was really intense. Shortly after doing that, I actually moved like 200 miles away to like a new house. Me and my partner got a house and stuff. And my kind of focus and priorities shifted to that of, I guess, trying to be a provider, like trying to make sure that, like, you know, just do the whole adult thing.
Right.
right.
And back then, I wasn't making enough money off my music really to sustain a living and to do this full time. So, yeah, I kind of fell out of love with music a bit because I kind of had to focus. I had to get like a 9-to-5 job, you know, and I didn't have much time for it. And it kind of took a back seat. And that EP was, Alice was the last song I wrote. And I think the first song I've Lost, for example, took me 5 years to write. The song I started writing in like 2013 or something, 2014. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Dude, and it's crazy.
It's a really old song.
Yeah, it's crazy because Lost, you know, musically, like, just for me, just, you know, I love the guitar work and I love the drums. The drums are really impactful because they're so simplistic, and like the fills come in when they need to. But lyrically speaking, that song, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, that song it seems very introspective, as opposed to like the rest of the lyrical content.
Yeah, well, I think when I was so basically that song was meant to be an instrumental. You know, when I started writing it in like 2014 or whatever. And the song is that old that between me starting it and finishing it, I had like 2 computers die and I lost all the project files. And so half of that song, if you open the project, it's just a WAV file, like a bounce of the entire song, and I've just put things on top of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But yeah, originally it was meant to be an instrumental, but with that EP, like, I was focusing a lot on the narrative and trying to develop the characters more, because the Shadow Task EP was an introduction to the characters. And then I kind of, you know, I had Cruising, Jewel, and Welcome. And I kind of just wanted to get the audience to know Pylot a bit more, like emotionally, because I actually feel like there's more character development for the other characters and not for him, because obviously he knows nothing about his past. So you get to learn about everyone else. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like that character takes a back seat for quite a while. And what was nice with that song was to just kind of write the story in a way where he's doing a lot of self-reflection. Even though he doesn't remember anything, he's just spilling his emotions and his thoughts out, you know, onto the page. And I just tried to translate that lyrically into the song as best I could.
Yeah, it definitely shows. Like I said, I think that might be why it's one of my favorites, because I feel like as like a listener from the outside, you know, not being in on what the story is, because you obviously know where the story's going, you know, and what you have planned for some of these characters. Like I said, lyrically looking at this song in particular, I think people could relate to it, because it doesn't necessarily say, hey, I'm restricted to just this character. The lyrics are open, and it has that kind of feel to it. Yeah.
I feel like it's important, really, lyrically, to do that. I think just because if you stress a niche narrative on your audience, I mean, the song can still be enjoyable, but it's not really relatable. Like, I feel like lyrical music, people enjoy it because they can always pick it apart and relate some part of it to themselves. You know, they feel familiar with the context maybe of a certain part of the song or whatever. Yeah, I feel like with that one in particular, a lot of people have spoke to me, you know, people have been going through depression and stuff, and they're like, you know, the song spoke to me and it made me feel like I wasn't alone and feeling like I don't know who I am and stuff like that. And so that was nice to hear. And I guess the intention is in that song is really just to try and echo the fact that sometimes people do feel lost. Sometimes people don't know what the fuck is going on in their lives. They feel like they have no control over stuff, and that's okay. Like, don't be ashamed about that. Like, you know what I mean? People have these phases, and yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, it's weird for me to say that it's nice when people say stuff like that, but you know what I mean? It's just, it's good to know that, you know, people can take something out of that song that isn't necessarily related to the narrative.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's important too. And again, it lets people connect in a different way to, whatever you're writing. And, I guess that's the goal in the long run, is to just like, have that connection with, your fans and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, definitely.
Now, musically, it's funny because it seems to me there's like a little bit of metal influence, especially on the guitar pieces in there. Now, being a musician myself, I don't necessarily, like if I'm creating music, I don't necessarily listen to the same genre that I'm writing in. Not that I'm purposely writing for a particular genre, but what I write isn't necessarily what I'm listening to.
Oh man, it's the exact same for me. Yeah, it is the exact same. For example, give me an example. Like, what music do you like to write versus what do you listen to? Okay, so whenever I was in an active touring band, we did a lot of heavier music. We did a lot of like post-hardcore or like metal and stuff like that. And we'd be on the road, and I'd be in the very back of the van. Like when the iPods had first come out, I was excited. I was like, holy shit, don't have to lug my CD booklet around anymore. Nice.
Yeah, right. So I would have my iPod back there with my headphones on, and the rest of my guys would be in the front. They're listening to like Primus and shit like that, and I'm in the back listening to fucking like Eiffel 65 and Tattoo and Daft Punk, and like I'm listening to more electronic music, but I'm getting like influence drumming wise from some of this stuff. Like, I want to incorporate some of this feel into what we're writing, or vice versa. There'd be times where I'm listening to heavier music or something completely opposite, but I want to write electronic stuff. So it's kind of polar opposite. So
yeah, it's the same for me. Like people ask me like, who are your favorite, I don't know, like synthwave artists or whatever, and I don't really listen to it. Like, I mean, I can give you a couple of artists that I think are really great. Power Glove is one of them. I love their music.
Hell yeah.
But like I listen to like, when I think about my roots, like new disco and French house and stuff, I'm always listening to people like Breakbot. I'm always listening to Oliver. And I feel like creatively it helps me, because if I'm just listening to stuff that's similar to what I'm writing all the time, I feel like I'm almost creatively limiting myself in terms of my influences. Like I listen to a lot of like Dream Theater, for example, or I like lo-fi hip hop. Like I just listen to loads of different stuff that doesn't really sound like what I make, but I always try and pull influences from those genres.
That's so cool to hear. Like Dream Theater. I bet nobody listening to this that listens to you would probably even think that, but that just sat and blew our fucking minds just now, because Cody and I really like that band a lot too.
Oh yeah.
So
man, they're like one of my favorite bands. Like when I was like a young musician, I listened to Dance of Eternity. Like when I had my first drum kit, and I listened to their track Dance of Eternity, and I didn't even know what time signatures were back then, and it made my head explode. I was like, what is this? And then I made it my mission to learn it, and it took me like 3 years to learn it or whatever. Going from knowing nothing and not being able to play a straight groove. And I just fell in love with the band, man. And I grew up listening to like a lot of prog rock bands like Rush, Dream Theater, and then I would listen to bands like Killswitch Engage, Toto, The Police, whatever. Like I kind of grew up on like, I guess, heavier music, Lamb of God, stuff like that. And then once I kind of got through college and started university, and I started learning about production, I feel like my tastes, I wouldn't say matured, but they did have quite a big shift. And I just found a love and appreciation for like disco music and music that kind of pulls elements from, the older stuff.
Kind of relatable, honestly, because like I told you earlier, I followed y'all since 2014 with Televisor, and back then it was so limited to, I only listened to like Shinedown and a lot of these like mainstream rock music bands and stuff like that. And then as I started discovering new stuff, I started getting into like, new disco was one big influence. And then I got into, Mr. Paris. I got into Churches and a whole bunch of bands similar to them, artists like them. And then eventually grew into different genres. Like I got into more of the metal scene again. I got more into the hip hop scene again, electronic scene again. So I feel like people who are more heavily creative, more heavily inclined to be creative, don't want to listen to the same genre over and over again, because like you said, you get stuck with that genre for so long that you're just hindered. And I feel like an emotional standpoint for anybody who listens to music, that's the same way, because you don't tend to progress if you just listen to the same shit over and over again. Like if you find different themes or different songs or genres that give you a different feeling of mood, you're more inclined to, like, I guess, evolve, like how you would describe it, like how your music evolved with everybody that you listen to.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd agree with that, definitely. It's quite narrow-minded maybe when I was younger with music, especially electronic music. I never listened to it. But then as I got older and I learned about production and stuff, I just realized it's like how many other types of music are out there that don't require like 5 separate band members all playing a different instrument. You had music being made by people like me sat in a room on my own, writing all the parts. And I kind of really admire that process, the one-man band kind of thing. I feel like it's important, though, definitely to diversify what you listen to, especially if you're writing music yourself. It's important, because I guess the way I think of it is like if you can imagine like a painter, like an artist, and they've got a blank canvas in front of them and they have a palette of colours. Well, if they're only familiar with the colours red and blue, they're only going to paint with red and blue. But if they're familiar with like a range of colours, it gives them far more options to create something that's more diversified and something that's more unique to them. I feel like that's the exact same with music consumption, like and how you treat music composition as an artist.
Yeah, it seems like it would help with writer's block too, because I think everybody has had that experience, at least a couple times, and it's the worst. Like writer's block is the worst, especially when you have the drive to want to do something, but you feel like you just can't do it.
Yeah, it is without a doubt like the most infuriating thing about doing this is having all this knowledge about writing music and production and stuff, and just like me sitting in this room with all this gear around me and still having no fucking clue what I'm going to do. And it's such a strange thing. It's such a weird thing.
Did you ever see the Tenacious D series on HBO by any chance?
No.
Okay. Well, I'll make a long story short. There's a sequence where they're it's in their first episode. They're trying to write for an open mic night because they keep playing the same damn song every week, and they go. And I just pictured this. I don't know why. They go home to write a new song, and it's like a little montage. They'll flash like day 1 they're doing this, day 2 they're doing that. Well, one of the days they're sitting there just holding their guitars, and there's like a tape recorder on the coffee table, and they're just sitting there like, just sitting there. And I was like, that is like the picture I get when I think of writer's block. That.
Yep.
Just blankly staring like fuck.
It kind of reminds me.
Man.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
No, it just brought me to Chromeo's Clorox wipe at the very beginning of the music video, whenever they're literally just confined with the quarantine and whatnot, but they don't know what to do. Like they're just sitting there on the couch throwing something in the air, and Dave's just plucking the strings. Like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Like that's what it reminded me of when you said that.
It's true though.
Yeah, it is crazy. I've kind of learned now if I kind of know when I'm going to get something done and when I'm not, and I just choose not to even bother. Like if I know I'm going to be sat for 3 hours staring at a screen, I'm just not going to even bother going into the studio to even attempt it.
Right.
Sometimes going for a walk or like watching a movie or playing a game or listening to music or doing something to take your mind off of making music, that often helps. Sometimes my issue isn't writing the music itself, it's writing something that I consider good enough to release. So like I've got like 60 songs that will never see the light of day. I just don't think they're good enough. So like in the past 8 months, people might think I've done nothing. I've actually written so much music, it's unfucking real, but no one will hear that.
Sometimes you just have to get those ideas out though.
Right.
That way, because like maybe you'll say, hey, this song is really jamming that I am writing on right now. And then you're just like, wait, what if I pluck a riff from one of these 60 songs and throw it in here, and that'll work with this. So it's like you have a whole closet full of stuff to pull from if you need it. It's almost like a rainy day thing, like I have these songs that are written that nobody's going to hear, but I'll hear them and I'll know it's, from this, but nobody will know that.
Well, I mean, it's either that or you be like James Jonah Jameson and be like, just crap, mega crap, just all the fucking songs.
Spider-Man reference. Yeah. I like it.
You're welcome.
Man, I've seen Homecoming obviously before, but I watched it again on the weekend. And man, seeing J. Jonah Jameson at the end, I just thought it was so fucking cool that they brought him in.
Oh, we flipped the fuck out when we saw that in theaters. Didn't we go together to see that, dude?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, and so we're sitting there, and then we kind of thought it was hilarious that like it's not just like Jameson, it's like a new, you know, we're not going to do, because nothing's really in newspaper. I mean, newspapers still exist, obviously, but now it's more like that freaking like Alex Jones looking kind of bullshit. That's what we equated it to, is like they're going that route with him, where he's just like this dude that's just going to spit shit off onto his little his podcast or his, you know, his web series or whatever. And he's like, oh, Spider-Man is Peter Parker. What the fuck? You know, great stuff. Great use of that character.
Yeah, man, I love all the Marvel stuff. I've never read any of the comics or anything, but like I've always, when I was younger, like, you know, the original Tobey Maguire movies, when they came out, I think I was like 13 or something, maybe 14 when the first Spider-Man came out.
Yeah, I was in high school.
I loved Spider-Man so much as a kid. Like, I fucking adored him. And when those films came out, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And like, obviously, when you go back and watch them now, there's so much funny, like, there's so many funny fucking things you don't think of. Like, there's a scene, which you guys must be familiar with, where he's swinging through New York City with MJ, and it's obvious that she's holding on to, like, a dummy with the Spider-Man outfit on. And he's completely static and still as he's, like, swinging, you know, through this, in between these buildings, like, in this close-up shot. And he's just completely still, not moving. Yeah, you don't notice those things, do you? Like when you're watching them when you're young, and go back years later and you rewatch stuff.
And you know what's funny is like that particular trilogy has become so memeable in the last few years. The whole what's the Bully Maguire? Yeah.
Oh man, I tell you what, I've seen some of those videos recently and they crack me up. Like Bully Maguire doing the Thanos snap and stuff like that. Oh, they're great, man. Like, awesome.
Between the Bully Maguire and the Pizza Time shit, that's like some of the best stuff ever.
No, I think the most recent one that was hilarious was at the end game part, whenever Captain Marvel meets Peter and he walks out with the glove. He's like, I had to be the old lady with a stick to get this thing.
Yeah,
I heard you just now say the dirt in your eye line, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye. Funny, man. It cracks me up. Honestly, so many good quotes in that film.
Right on, man. Oh my god, yeah. Now I want to go watch all those. Are you excited for the new one, No Way Home?
I am. What do you guys think about the idea of a multiverse and bringing the other Spider-Man in? I know it's been debunked and stuff, but I personally would love that. Honestly,
if you would have listened to, I don't know, 2 or 3 of the episodes we talked about this, we pretty much predict that at this point.
Yeah, because when you look at the way Sam Raimi's coming back to do a Doctor Strange film, there's no fucking way. Like, they can debunk it all they want to, but I'm sitting here thinking, you know, until I see it not happen, then I'll believe that they're, you know, just saying no. Because man, it's too on the nose at this point. The fact that they're even bringing back Alfred Molina and Jamie Foxx, you know, I'm all about a multiverse, dude. I'm all about it.
Especially since they're already hinting at the Sinister Six. Like, it's that obvious because you have Vulture, you have Shocker, you have, Electro, all these characters like coming together at some point in their own little way.
Yeah.
And now we're getting introduced to the old Raimi villains again. It's like, okay, come on. Seriously, you think we're that dumb?
Yeah, man. I think that'd be fucking sick. I think that'd be awesome. What's his name? The guy that played the Goblin.
Willem Dafoe?
What's his name?
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. Wasn't he rumored to be in this new Spider-Man film?
Yeah, they just, that's like one of the newer ones that they were talking about, because it's him, Alfred Molina, who played Doc Ock, Jamie Foxx, who played Electro, and then they're even talking about at some point down the line possibly sticking the Tom Holland Spider-Man into the Sonyverse stuff, where they're already building like Venom and Morbius.
I do think it's cool how they're basically doing full circle and kind of bringing like the classic villains back, and I just hope it happens. Like, you guys seem pretty sure it's going to, so I'll take your word for it, and I'll get excited for it, and hopefully it fucking happens.
If not, you got us on Discord. You can like shoot us a message like, "Oh fuck you guys, you screwed me over. You
hyped me up for no reason.
Take that episode down. Fuck you both."
Oh shit. Does your dad resemble a 70s disco Yeti man?
Do you need to turn into a swan?
Did you accidentally post a photo of your father on the internet that you thought was Bigfoot?
Have you ever wondered why your dad's OnlyFans page is bombing? Only because he got the wrong picture of himself up there? Well, look no further. We have the solution for you.
That's right. Make your dad proud this year for Father's Day and get him, and maybe yourself, the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right. The Lawnmower 4.0. Imagine surprising your dad with a sleek, well-designed and optimized body hair trimmer that says, "Your balls will thank you" on the box.
Yo, bruh, thank you for trimming us down here. We've been needing it for about 5 years now.
This 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to the advanced skin-safe technology. Now, how is this one different than the other hair trimmers?
It gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. You can shave your balls in the dark.
It also includes a multi-function on-off switch that can engage a travel lock. This is a great feature if your father or you do a lot of traveling.
The Lawnmower 4.0 even allows you to customize your trim through additional guard lengths with sizes 1 through 4.
The new wireless charging system uses electromagnetic induction, which can help the battery length last longer. Yeah, you heard that right. Wireless charging ball trimmers are now a thing. Also, have you ever seen a nose bush sticking out of your dad's nose? The Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer is the best nose hair trimmer on the market and the perfect gift for your dad.
They also have other amazing products like cologne, crop mop ball wipes, crop reviver ball toner, and crop preserver ball deodorant, so you can be smooth and smell great.
Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code SUPER at manscaped.com.
Repeat that code.
That's 20% off with free shipping using our code SUPER at manscaped.com. Manscaped products are cruelty-free, paraben-free, dye-free, and vegan. That's 20% off with free shipping using our code SUPER at manscaped.com. Don't forget that you came from your dad's balls. This year, show your original home some love with Manscaped. Your home's gonna be more ballin' than ever.
Make dads like us ballin'.
But yeah, man, I think the only other couple questions outside of just bullshitting with you that I know for a fact our friend Josh from Young Medicine was telling me the other day. He was like, dude, I just want to know, does the guy actually ride a motorcycle? Like, not the character. Does Tim actually ride a motorcycle? And I was like, I'll ask him.
Yeah, well, the answer everyone wants to hear is yes. The answer is no. I don't ride one at all. I would love to ride one. I would love to get a motorbike. But I don't think I will. So no. I mean, dude, I was obsessed with like the Power Rangers, the Masked Rider. You know, I loved all, you know, VR Troopers. There was something about people in helmets with like the full outfit that I just loved when I was a kid. And I never lost that. Like when I grew up, I still thought it was super fucking cool. And so when I made the project, I just tried to encapsulate everything that I think is fucking sick and just put it in one thing for people to enjoy. It kind of sucks when I have to tell people that I don't ride, but at the same time, I'm not Pylot. Like, Pylot is Pylot.
Right,
So,
right.
He rides, I don't ride.
No, it was just funny because I was thinking about what we were talking about earlier. Whenever you went from Televisor to Pylot, I can just imagine you literally looking at Tom at some point and to like, all right, Tom, look, I gotta go find my wife who I don't remember real quick, putting on the freaking helmet, getting on the bike and just taking off in the Pylot.
Nice writing music with you, mate, but I've got a dash. What do you mean? Well, I suddenly can't remember anything.
My wife is missing.
At least I think my wife is missing. I don't know if she's actually my wife.
My wife or my husband, I don't know. Somebody is missing because I have an engagement ring in my hand.
So let's go. just right away.
It's cool that you guys have, like I say, because you've reviewed the Shadow Task EP and the Sly EP, and because I know you guys read the story, it's funny because obviously I've done interviews in the past where I've spoken to people, but I don't think anyone has actually read the story that I've spoken to. They just know I have a story. I don't think they've actually read it, or if they have, like they've never asked me specific questions or anything. So it's just funny hearing you guys pull out like little references or whatever. It's kind of cool.
Well, that's interesting because like if you're a true fan of the music, wouldn't you like try to get more into the world instead of just listening to it. Like, how can you not do that? Like, how can you listen to just the music at this point when you know there's more to it than just music, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, it's literally the soundtrack to it, you know?
Yeah.
And because that's how, at least for both of us, I know for a fact, that's how we read it. Like, we'll read the journal entry while that particular song is playing.
That's cool, man. That is cool. I think at the minute it's kind of odd because, like, for example, with some of the journal entries that I'm writing, in my head, I'm like, okay, the song should start at this point in the entry. You know, so say, for example, if the song is about a particular event in the story, but there's 3 paragraphs before that event starts, that's just like filler or whatever, but you've already started playing the song, it's probably not going to make sense. You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
So I might have to put a little like thing in the entry saying like, you know, brackets, play song from here or something.
That'd be kind of cool.
I don't know. I don't know if that's necessary or not, but I mean, what would be really awesome, and it's something that I want to try and develop, is a system whereby maybe it's just a simple system initially where you literally just drag the mouse over the text as you're reading it, and once you get to a certain point, the song just starts.
Oh, that'd be so badass.
Like interactive.
Yeah. I've got some really cool plans in terms of like, I don't want to give too much away, but like using VR and stuff and kind of really immersing people in the world. Having like spatial audio, and if someone could stick a headset on and a pair of headphones and literally sit themselves in that motel room or sit themselves somewhere else.
Oh my God, you just gave me like chills just thinking about that. Just putting on the freaking visor and just getting on the bike and seeing the transmission pop up, like, go here. Okay, I'm ready to fucking do this.
Yeah, man. It's something like I would love to do, is some kind of like interactive installation like that or something. But I mean, shit like that is fucking expensive as well. Like, because obviously you need to get teams of people working on that. But whatever. I mean, these are all goals, they're all ideas. So who knows, man? Who knows what will happen in the future?
Right on.
I'll gladly support that.
Same.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Now, before we get into Brawl, because I actually hit Cody with this factoid the other day, and I don't remember if you actually knew about it, dude, or not. So you did a song for a Taco Bell ad.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, how did that come about? Because, you know, when we listen to you, we think nighttime, we think the city of Salai, beating the shit out of people with baseball bats, cybernetic arms, motorcycles, visors. But Taco Bell, not that it's bad. I thought that was fucking cool as shit. How did that come about, man?
So it's an odd one. So I'll give you the short version. So I have a publishing deal. So I have been ever since I was with Televisor. So my old management basically got us a publishing deal as individual writers, not as Televisor. And I've been with them, I think, since 2014. But yeah, basically, Taco Bell got in touch with my publisher and was like, we really love Kane, and we'd like to use it on an ad. And so, you know, they had the usual chat or whatever. My publisher got back to me and I was like, why not I just write something new? Like, I'm in the middle of working on a track at the minute that sounds like Kane because it's about the same character. So it could work. It's at the same BPM. It's in the same key. It's almost like an homage to the original song. And they were like, okay.
So it's Mexican. Yeah, it's Mexican. Let's just say it. This is what it is.
Mexican.
Yes, sir.
I like it. But yeah, so basically I was like, do you want me to send you a demo? They said yes. Sent them a demo. You know, and I'm not going to like beat around the bush or pretend or whatever. Like, there's a lot of money to be made in adverts. And if you're, you know, if you're trying to make this your career, then you would be stupid to turn down something like that for sure. I think for me, like personally, if I feel like I'm selling out, I won't do something. But I guess aligning an advert like that with what I'm doing, if I'm going to release a song anyway and someone wants to just license it for an advert, then why the fuck not? Like, people are going to Shazam it. It'll bring them to my music. They can check out the story. Like, I don't see it as a bad thing necessarily.
To me, it would, like, selling out would be, okay, you're going to write the song for Taco Bell or you don't get to release like your own music. And it's like, oh, fuck that. You know? It's like, it's like, I guess I'll do it. Like, no, dude. Like, the fact that you have like the gumption and the want to be like, well, fuck, let me just write an original, you know, tune for this. That's cool as shit. So,
yeah, man. I think, I mean, because the song sounds like me, you know, whatever. The advert was cool as well. The advert was really cool how they actually did that. So yeah, I was happy to do it, honestly. I was happy to do it.
See, now I just need a rehash of Blurred Vision's album cover, but instead of the gas station, just put Taco Bell. So you can just see Pylot walking up to it.
Man, I've seen some weird shit in my time, like people photoshopping that cover. Like someone photoshopped a dildo in his hand.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, why would you send me that? Like, what the hell? I think someone DM'd it me on Instagram or something, and I was like, yeah, I'm not replying to that, but they did make me laugh from I was like, what the fuck? I don't like. There's no context. I don't understand what the point was, but okay.
What's the weirdest fan art you've gotten?
Besides that,
let me think. The only one I could think of is someone from, I believe it's the. I'm actually going to check. You're going to hear me typing briefly. I apologize, but
that's okay.
What cover art is? I think it might be the Blurred Vision cover art. Is that the one where he's leaning up on the bike?
no, that's the one where he's holding the helmet and he's walking to the gas station.
Oh, it's flashbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So someone sent me the flashbacks cover art, but they'd taken the helmet off and they'd photoshopped their own head onto the character. But the head was like, they tried to make it look legit, but like the head wasn't in proportion to the body. And this person was like, they'd taken the ring out of his hand and replaced it with like a cigarette or whatever. And I had this weird quote, like I'm guessing English wasn't this person's first language because they tried to write a quote, but it just read weird. It was like, my dad tell me to be good, so I be good. I was just like, what the fuck? Okay. I liked it. I was like, oh, fair enough, whatever. Like, cool. But I just didn't really get it.
Before my dad went to get milk, he told me this. And never came back.
My dad said, be good, I be good. Okay.
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 This is how I lost my memory. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. But yeah, man. I think there's been some really cool fan arts. Like, definitely, like, there's a Kelly. She's, like, been a fan of mine for as long as I can remember. She's really, really cool. And she is. I know she's doing like a fan comic, and she's been working on it for like 3 years. It's got all the original characters in, and she's basically, illustrating the story in like a comic book style on that. And although it's not affiliated with me, like I have nothing to do with the content, like it's a fan-based thing. It's just so cool to see. She's always doing really cool fan art and stuff like that. There's been quite a few people send stuff in, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to see how, because I mean, even the album arts that you've had available for prints, like you can buy them as prints on your website, or is it your website, or is it a different website?
It's a third-party website called InPrint, so it's like a print-on-demand service, but they focus on like really high quality. Like they print on like, I believe it's called Glycee paper. Mm-hmm. It's like canvas paper or whatever. So
I got you.
Yeah, dude. Because like I said, it's not hard to see like people doing fan art with that stuff, or like hell, even making their own versions of what they interpret the music to be and stuff like that. That's always fun to look at too.
But that's the thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's the thing, like, you've done something magnificent when people can go into that creative realm of art. Mm-hmm. You've reached a high with what you've made, basically, and that's something pretty cool to actually like acknowledge, I would say.
Definitely. I think the novelty like never wears off. I think whenever I see stuff like that, I always instills like a level of, I guess, humility in me. I always look at it and I'm like, wow, like, 8 years ago or whatever, when I was starting out, I didn't even think I would have a career doing this, honestly. Like, I just thought, I just do it for fun or whatever. I studied it in university because it's the only thing I enjoy doing. And to be at this point now, like, time goes so fast, almost in a flash, that you forget, like, all the little micro decisions you've had to make, like, to get to the where you are now. And, like, seeing stuff like that it just makes you realize how fortunate I am. Like, I'm under no illusion that, like, it's a mix of hard work and luck that's got me where I am. It's neither one or the other. I'd say it's 50-50 split. And so I'm definitely grateful, like, for everyone that listens and sends stuff like that, because when I was younger, I would do it all the time. Like, I idolized people like Mike Portnoy, and to know other people kind of follow me and enjoy my music. It's surreal. It's humbling for sure. Like, it's surreal, but it's really cool.
It's like you mentioned Mike Portnoy in particular. Were drums your first instrument? I just thought about that. Okay, yeah, me too. Yeah, that was my first instrument too.
Yeah, drums. And then, yeah, I mean, drums, guitar, bass, piano.
Yep. Same.
Keyboards, whatever. Just dabbling in everything. Because, like, when I was growing up, I lived in, like, a tiny little island in a country called Wales in the UK. And it's a really tiny, like, 20-mile in, like, radius island connected to, like, the rest of the UK via a bridge. And there was, I'm not joking when I say there was, like, one supermarket and, like, a couple of, like, charity shops and some churches. That was it. There was nothing. Fields, sheep, that's it. And so my entertainment came in the form of just music and, like, learning instruments, like, and skateboarding. There was nothing else to do apart from skate, play musical instruments. You know, it wasn't until I went to uni and I moved to the city that I was like, holy fuck, like, there's so much potential for me to actually do stuff here. You know, I don't have to get on a bus for 3 hours to go to the nearest music shop. Yeah, it's crazy.
Can't imagine taking a bus 3 hours to go to a music shop. But although if that was like the only music shop near, I probably would do the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, like, now that I've moved to, I live in a city called Manchester, and I actually have a car now, which I didn't like when I was a teenager. And man, the music store's like 30 minutes away. So, like, a couple of days ago, I was like, man, I need to get a bass guitar. I want to start playing, like, live bass in my music and kind of incorporating it in there more. Because, like, any of the live bass you hear in my music is a plugin called Trillion, which, like, I just play the bass parts on a keyboard.
Yeah.
You know, I spend a lot of time, like, articulating it and whatever, messing with velocities and stuff to get it to sound genuine. But I just thought to myself, I need a bass. I want a Fender Jazz.
Oh, same.
I was like, I'm just going to go buy one. And I was like, it took me like 25 minutes to drive to the music store and come back. And I had a bass guitar that day. Usually, like, when I was younger, if I wanted a guitar, I would have to, like, look online, like, via dial-up internet.
Oh, yeah.
It would take me half an hour to buy something and 3 weeks to get to my house. Whereas I decided to buy one and was home with one in an hour. It's crazy.
That's the best.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because you said, like, you want to start doing live bass. Now, I am just going to go out on a limb here. You program your drums, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you doing it, like, you know, pre-done, or are you actually, like, you know, hammering them out, like, on a keyboard or, like, a trigger pad or anything like that?
Yeah, so I hammer it out on my... So I've got a Moog Little Fatty. It's like a semi-analog synth, but it also serves as a MIDI controller. So I've had this, like, since before Televisor, and it's like my baby.
If you could see the grin on my face right now, like, I love talking gear and talking shop about stuff like that. It's so cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, same. I could talk about it all night for sure. But yeah, what I usually do is I'll track the drums on, like, my MIDI controller, but I'll track it in sections. And usually with my music, the drums aren't that complicated at all. So usually it's quite a standard, say, 4 to the floor beat, and I might swing it a bit. I might add some variation on the hi-hats, open hats, or whatever. But in terms of kick and snare, it's usually just a solid kind of beat. And then I will play around with, say, percussion, little accents, you know, like shakers or a tambourine or a woodblock or whatever. But yeah, I track it on my Moog. I track the bass on my Moog as well. I'll just play the bass parts in, fine tune it in the DAW as well.
That's awesome. Have you ever thought about just getting an electric drum kit or, like, doing a live kit somehow one day?
Yeah, I want to, and I would have one already, but my room is, I can literally touch both. I can touch both walls either side of me just by stretching my arms out.
Shit.
My room is tiny. It's so small. It's long. Well, no, it's not long either. It's about 4.5 meters long and about 3 meters wide.
Oh, wow.
It's really small, so I'm hoping to move out within the next year and a half or something, and I'm going to get a dedicated big room so I can get, like, V-drums in there or something. Cause
hell yeah.
I miss, honestly, like, even things like, you know, say, oftentimes now I'll just program a kick and snare in, like, using a mouse and just drag the samples into my timeline or whatever. But I feel like with the kick and snare in, like, the style of music I make, I don't have to worry about velocity too much unless I'm doing fills. Like, if I'm playing a straight beat, I don't need to worry about velocity too much.
Right.
But sorry, I'm going off on on a production swindle here. Mm-hmm. But if I'm playing, like, 16th notes on a hi-hat, I want it to feel like I'm playing it, you know.
Yeah, because you don't want it to all. Yeah, you want like the you want like the authenticity of the stick bouncing off the hat when you're doing like on the 1s and 3s and then the 2s and 4s. You want that authenticity. So yeah, I totally get it.
I want to play in the pocket. I want the articulations to sound great. I want it to feel like this groove. I want to shift in terms of, quantization. I don't want it to be on the grid and stuff. And obviously you can make these adjustments in your software without actually playing it. But I just want one drum pad with a little interface that I can take MIDI out into my software and just like play things like fills and like hi-hat rolls and stuff. I should just probably do it. Like I should just get one, but yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, I was weirdly enough, like the drum conversation, I was gonna lead into your latest single, Brawl, which thank you for sending us an advanced listen of, because like, dude, fucking love this one. I was gonna say like the production on the drums. You're very welcome, dude. We noticed that like the drum production is like a little more dry than usual on this one, and that kind of has like a late 70s, early 80s kind of feel to it. Were you kind of eyeballing like that era for like just the drum production, or is it was just like just a spur of the moment, like, well, I want to do something different just completely as far as the engineering on it?
Well, for me, I've always been into like, are you familiar with Justice?
Absolutely.
Like Justice, if you listen to their production style on like Across from the Universe, that album, it's a very dry sounding album. Particularly the drum production, it's very dry. You don't really hear reverb or delays unless they're using it as an effect for a fill or something. Sometimes like there'll be lead instruments that are washed in reverb, whatever. But in terms of the drum production itself, it's very dry. And I've always liked that style because I've written music in the past that I have just washed in reverb and delay. For me, I feel like it's to compensate for lack of musicality or production. So I just try and cover up what I feel is a shitty production with a bunch of reverb, and it adds ambience, and then I call it a day. But with the return and with this, like the return for me was, it was me coming back after a little, I guess, kind of break, trying to find my bearings and stuff and kind of just develop my sound. And I use that track as a reference for this song. The return is quite dry in its production style as well.
Yeah.
But I've always liked that kind of sound where it's so easy to pick out every like nugget in a song. There's lots of like small details in my music, just little things that ear can latch onto that I want to be obvious and I want to jump out with the listener. Some people may find that weird. I know some people do find that weird, but that's just my taste. Like I've always lived it. Like if I can throw a random like 4 beats on a shaker, just in a whole song, just random 4 beats on a shaker somewhere that someone can latch onto and think, oh, that's cool. I'm all about those kind of details and stuff. So having the dry kind of sound, especially like when you listen to the track, it sounds quite glitchy. There's lots of like cuts. There's lots of things kind of dropping in and out all the time. And there's a fuckload of guitar on there as well.
I was going to say the same thing. That's very guitar driven and very fucking cool. Like the guitar is probably like, in our conversation, like I love drums, but Jesus Christ, the guitar part on that was just amazing.
That was the one thing I appreciate about your evolution and the style of music is the guitar just got better and better and better as soon as you introduced it.
Well, I didn't play the guitar on this latest track at all. I got my good friend Thomas McRocklin to record guitar on this track.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, and he's fantastic. I can't remember the music video now, but he was basically a child prodigy guitarist. So he was in Steve Vai's music video, The Audience is Listening. He was the kid with the long hair in that video, shredding away. And he's an absolute beast on the guitar. Like, he's an absolute unit. Like, obviously, you've heard the song, that was so fun to work on with him. And I sent him the instrumental and I gave him some guidelines, like I want it in this key, I want you to do this and that. But I basically just gave him complete like creative freedom with it. And he sent the parts back. I kind of chopped things up, moved things about, and I just wanted to do something different, there's one thing I think, as much as I like synthwave in brackets, I don't consider myself a synthwave artist at all. I just don't. I feel like my music doesn't really sound like that. I mean, I have influences that derive from the genre for sure. Tracks like Alice definitely do sound like synthwave. But like my latest stuff, I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to sound pretentious by saying, oh, I can't class it. It's just no description for how brilliant it is. But what I mean is like, it's hard. I'm just writing what I want to write, and I mean, maybe you guys have a better job at identifying it than I would, but I wouldn't call it synthwave anymore.
No, it definitely sounds more cinematic. I would put it as like cinematic electronic, like synth rock, not synth wave, but like there's a lot of rock element to what you do as well.
Well, that's the thing. Like it's such an amalgamation of different genres. I mean, everybody's going to obviously go to like dark synthwave or whatever, but you still have like 80s rock and power rock and, you know, stuff like that. So it's not a linear style. It's such a huge amalgamation of styles that you've created with it.
Yeah, I think, I guess it's difficult sometimes, like when you're writing music and like trying to establish who your audience is. It's easy, you know, as a producer or a musician starting out, to find your niche within a genre and kind of play to your strengths, which is what I did with Televisor, definitely. But with Pylot, I think I've always tried to kind of alleviate myself of the burden of writing what I think people expect me to write. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm not confining myself to the constructs of like a genre or a subgenre or whatever. I think that's partially the reason as to why my last single did quite well, and it's like an independent single. Like I put no money behind it on like marketing spend or nothing. But I guess it's just nice when like a track does well, and you're just, when you release it, like you're wholeheartedly happy with it because you're just true to yourself creatively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a tangent. I apologize, but
no, you're good. Just saying, like, it is nice to release independently because you don't have a deadline and you don't have people breathing down your neck like, oh, when's it going to be finished? Like, it's just on your time.
Yeah, man.
And it's when you feel it's right. And now I think most people can relate to this that do create anything, be it music or podcasting or movies or whatever. If you had full creative control and nobody breathing down your neck, you know in your heart, like, okay, I could release it next week, but for some reason, this particular date just feels right. And then if that, you know, makes you feel good about it, then that's how you do it. I feel like no matter like what you're doing, that if it feels right to you, then that's what you should go with.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree.
I think more the success, not so much as like people listen to music and the monetary thing and everything like that, but I think the more personal success comes from being able to take that creative reins and go whatever direction you want. And ultimately you get to where you want to be, you know, in so many levels versus like I always harp on mainstream music. Like they're always being told, like you said earlier, Richie, like, oh, you have to crunch out a song by next week or next month or next, you know, 2 months, whatever. And you have to basically make it to the listeners, you know, style and stuff, because that's what they're used to doing. That's how they make their money. It's like, you don't feel that pride, that joy, that success in your mind that you would like you're doing, basically like being able to create something of your own without someone saying, hey, do it this way.
Yeah, because then it becomes inauthentic.
Yeah. And then
definitely.
And then you get stuck in that genre. Like you say, you don't want to be stuck in the synthwave genre or any genre in particular. But if you got told to do that because people see like, oh, that's the success of Pylot is that synthwave genre, then they're going to expect you to stay stuck in that genre. Then you're going to, like you said earlier, you get so tired of music, the creative blocks start coming. It's like, I don't know what to do. I'm not feeling it. I don't know where I'm going with this. And then you just kind of burn out. And that's pretty much like the end of the artist, basically, which we don't want that to happen.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like that's what happened with Televisor. I think that is pretty much what happened. You know, like we had management that was like just trying to force us to make commercial shit. We did like commercial house music. We didn't want to make that shit. You know, and just a bunch of other stuff that just industry political bollocks. But basically I was like, nah, like I don't feel fulfilled anymore. Like I want to work on my own music. I kind of just do me. So I think you're completely right in saying that, you know, if your aim is to create, then it's important above all else. So just stay true to what you want to make. And if you're consistent, you know, hopefully with a bit of luck, you'll find success with it and then you'll truly be happy. You know, if your aim is to just make money, then the music industry probably isn't the one that you should consider putting all your time and effort into. But yeah, it's really important, like, to stay true. As I'm sure you guys know, you know, doing your podcast and talking about what you guys talk about and stuff. I mean, that what you cover in your podcast is what you genuinely enjoy talking about.
Mhm.
And when you can grow an audience, and have an authentic connection with them through a mutual interest, like that's got to be such a cool feeling, instead of just chatting about whatever's popular, like Ariana Grande's fucking shoes or something. You know what I mean? And not really having your heart in the content.
Yeah. Talking about what everybody wants to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one thing we do enjoy. And you're definitely right on the money with that because, there's so many people that they want to talk about like the current events. Yeah, that's cool. And, I'm sure there's people that are like, well, what's your take on a current opinion? And we just want to have fun with our content. We want to talk about stuff that we generally enjoy and talk to people like you who, in our opinion, are more interesting people to, listen to, talk to. Your creations are really like niche and there's a particular audience for that they don't get the opportunity to seek out like, a Pylot interview. Like, you had to wait, years to hear from you in general. So it's nice to see that, that particular niche, be it like cult films or like electronic music, that's coming to the forefront for people that have always held it in regard as like, this is an underground thing, but I wish it got more attention because these artists deserve that attention, which that's how we feel too. We want to, bring people like you, and especially like with this interview, bring, you to people that listen to us that may have never, heard your music or any of the bands we've mentioned in this conversation. So
I don't know about you guys, and this is like a subject that I always see people kind of discussing on the internet, and I honestly don't see it as a big deal, but some people do, and it's categorizing music with genres or subgenres and being like oddly specific about it. Like, I genuinely don't care. I actually hate putting labels on things, and it's probably counterproductive in a lot of ways, but do you know what I mean? Like, you see people arguing over what subgenre of a subgenre this one song is.
Yes.
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, who fucking cares? Do you like the song? Yes. Well, move on. Like,
right.
I don't get it.
Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm with you on that because I get so confused on how dubstep has like 3,000 different subgenres. Like, okay, how am I supposed to categorize? It's dubstep. No, it's not dubstep. What is it then? It's dub trap, electro house step. I'm like, how do you have the time to sit there and categorize like that?
I don't have time for that shit. Like,
No.
I just don't have time for that shit. Like I have like a bullshit radar, and like if I sense it, I'm like, nah, just move on.
It's like, fuck off.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just like, nah, I can't be fucking bothered with that.
Yeah, good tunes.
It's like someone tried to have an argument with me on Discord. I never replied to them, but they sent me this massive message, like, you're wrong about like what genre your music is and shit. And I'm just like, well, the difference between me and you is that I don't care. Like, I don't care what genre my music is. I just care about how it sounds. Like, you fucking call it whatever you want. Why do I care? I don't care.
It's like sitting there like, fucker, I wrote this music.
Yeah. How do you think I don't know?
I'm just like, whatever. I feel like, as well, like, when people start coming up with subgenres and shit, you start going down this rabbit hole of just utter nonsense. Like elitism bullshit. I just can't be bothered with it.
Yeah, it's like that elitist gatekeeping shit. I
don't care.
I don't either. I'm not a fan.
That's when you start getting those artists. That's when you start getting those artists who are like, oh, well, you like trance, right? Well, I have this whole new style of trance that nobody's ever heard of. And I'm like, it's still trance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, man.
Shoot, man. We really, really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us today, dude. Because like we were mentioning earlier before we started, actually, talking for the episode, it's been a while, been a long time coming. Like we've been trying to figure out how to get you onto the show for probably 3 years now, just because we've been, obviously huge fans of your music, and you're just a cool dude in general. And, we really appreciate just, you hanging out with us and taking the time out of your day to do that.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me. It's been fun talking to you guys.
Yeah, dude, you don't know how much of an honor it is to like talk to you, because like I've been a fan of yours since 2014 when I was Televisor, but I never really would have expected to finally sit down and talk to someone, like you of all people. And it's like I'm still kind of like, oh my God, is this a dream kind of sequence in my brain? Like that's just how I am.
Well, it's always strange hearing people say stuff like that, but thank you. I do appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I've listened to quite a few of your podcast episodes, to be fair. And it's like I said, I think before we actually started recording for the podcast, it's surreal for me talking to you guys because I've heard you speaking to each other before, and when you listen to a podcast for quite a long time, you almost forget that you're not in the room with someone. So then when I'm talking to you, I feel like I've spoken to you before. I feel like we've had conversations before when we obviously haven't. Yeah, it's strange. It's cool though, man.
No, it is very cool. And yeah, like, I same honestly, like, you know, just hearing like some of the Twitch streams, you know, or like catching them here and there when we can. It's like, oh man, now we're having that exact same, you know, feeling here. But no, it's definitely cool. So let everybody out there know where they can find you at on social media or website, or what other things you got coming up in the pipeline. Okay,
so if you haven't heard my music or anything before, I guess maybe a good place to go would be my website, which is iampylot.com. And if you go there and you click on the My Journey tab, you'll be able to listen to the music and you'll be able to read the story that goes along with it. Yeah, I'd probably say that's the best place to go. In terms of things coming up, I've got some cool stuff in the works. I'm working on like building a side business that is related to my music. I won't give too much away, but I am going to be launching that soon, and that should be really cool. It's basically something that's going to reflect a positive change, I hope, within the industry, not just for me, but for other artists as well, and for fans of these artists and stuff. So that'll be exciting. Apart from that, I mean, I'm just going to keep working on music, just keep doing my thing. Yeah. I also stream on Twitch as well. I think it's twitch.tv/Pylot official. I should really know my own Twitch handle. I think it's twitch.tv/Pylot official. And I do like music production streams, like studio hangouts, Q&As. And most of the time, I'm literally just sat in here chatting with everyone watching and just chatting shit, writing music, doing challenges, whatever. You know, music challenges like I had a challenge before where I had to write a whole song using one cowbell sample. And I did it, but it honestly drove me insane. I ended the stream early because I just couldn't take it anymore. Oh, shit. I was like, right, I've done a 2.5 minute song. Like, I made drums, I made a bass line, I did everything with this one stupid like sample. But yeah, man. So yeah, if you guys like are new to like listening to me or whatever, then yeah, go check those channels out.
Right on.
Yeah, we'll put all that in the show notes below. If you're listening on any of your favorite podcatchers, or if you're listening to us on YouTube, we'll throw them in the description below so you can just scroll up and click the hyperlinks and it'll take you right there. So yeah, but we really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us, and we've definitely enjoyed chatting with you.
Definitely.
Yeah, same. It's been really nice chatting with you guys as well.
Yeah, dude.
We should do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say, anytime you want to come back on, man, you know, you're always welcome on our show. So
awesome. Cool.
All right, dude. Well, we'll let you go. It's Sunday, and it's probably very late where you're at right now. What I assume is almost midnight where you're at right now, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's 11:40. 11:46.
Oh man. Well, all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually up before, like I was saying. So I'll just be working on music or something now for a couple hours. Call it a night.
There you go. All right, dude. We'll definitely holler at you later sometime down the road.
All right, guys. Thank you for the chat.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you, sir.
No worries. All right, guys. Speak to you later.
All right. Have a good one, man.